What do the Belgians still need?
Well, I'm looking forward to the discussion on the immobilized assets, not the frozen assets. There's a big difference, the sovereign assets. There's the idea of confiscating them to give them to Ukraine. I'm looking for the legal basis for this decision. This is not a detail. Even during the Second World War, immobilized assets were never touched. So this is a very important step if we would like to take it. We have three demands. I want a full mutualization of the risk, because there is a big risk. We will suffer from enormous claims. So if you want to do this, we will have to do this all together. We want guarantees if the money has to be paid back, that every member state will chip in. The consequences cannot only be for Belgium. And the third demand is that every country who has immobilized assets moves together with us, because we are the only ones. Euroclear is the only financial institution that offers the windfall profits to Ukraine. We know that there are vast amounts of Russian money in other countries who have always been silent about this. If we move, we must move all together. That's European solidarity. If these three demands, which are quite reasonable, I think, are met, then we could go forward. If not, I will do everything in my power at the European level, also at the national level, politically and legally, to stop this decision.
Many countries.
On the energy sector, do you think you need to buy energy from Middle East, like gas, petrol?
Well, we are going forward on the 19th package of sanctions against Russia, which means that Russian fossils can no longer come to Europe. So we will need to diversify the value chains more, and the Middle East could be one of the sources to help us do that.
Isn't there a risk that Putin will expropriate European assets or Russian frozen assets are used?
Well, we like, of course, an analysis of what the countermeasures can be. You can look at the example of Google, which was declared bankrupt in Russia and seized, and that Russian jurisdiction is now being applied in other friendly jurisdictions to Russia. So the member states must understand that if they take Putin's money, he will take our money back. Companies of European origin will be seized in Russia. Western frozen money, that's also in Russia, will be seized. And maybe other countries friendly to Russia will do the same thing. So we must be careful that this does not backfire. We're taking Putin's money, who's now immobilized, and we might permit him to take money back. So we might even help him instead of punishing him. And of course, all these companies that will be seized will start claiming us. So these are risks. There must be transparency about the risk. There must be transparency about the legal basis for decision. I haven't seen it yet. They haven't presented me the treaty or the international law on which this decision can be based. And we need transparency on all the Russian immobilized money in other countries.
If we want to confiscate the Russian assets, there are huge risks. And I think we have to talk about it before we can move forward. This is not easy for me. You know that most of the Russian assets are in Belgium, but there are other countries that also have Russian assets. We need transparency about the others and the risks. Everyone must understand that we are all in this together. If we confiscate the Russian money, there will be consequences for all European countries.
Danke.
Will you get those guarantees from today, do you think?
Well, I'm looking forward to discussion. We'll see.
Have they given any suggestions so far?
Sorry?
Have they given any indication so far they will give you those guarantees?
Well, I haven't even seen the legal basis for the decision yet. This seems to me the first step. If you want to take an important decision, this has never been done. Even during the Second World War, we didn't do this. So it's not a detail. The first step seems to me that you present the legal basis for your decision. I haven't seen it yet.
Prime Minister.
Zelensky kunnen zeggen dat België akkoord is met het lenen van het Russische geld aan Oekraïne?
Well, I want to start the discussion, but of course it starts at the beginning. First, the legal basis to be able to make such a decision. I have not seen it yet. What is it based on? On what treaty? On what rule of law? It was not even done during the Second World War, so this is not a detail. So I would like to see that, and then we can talk about it. And then there are three conditions. If you want to go further, then we have to mutualize the risks. That means they can not only be for Belgium. We are going to face gigantic claims for that money and for damage. We cannot carry them alone. Second, there must be guarantees on the repayment if necessary. The moment it goes wrong and tens of billions of cash have to be repaid, it can be repaid up to hundreds of billions of cash. Then Belgium cannot do it alone. So all member states will then have to guarantee that they can pay at that moment. And third, we will never do this alone. There are still important Russian assets in other countries, sovereign assets of the Central Bank of Russia in other countries. They have to move with us. Otherwise, Belgium will be the only target of Russian counter-sanctions. And they can be very numerous. They can confiscate all kinds of companies that we have in Russia. They can confiscate money from Western banks in Russia. They can also begin to impose that decision on regimes that are friendly to Russia. Look at what happened with Google in Russia. It is completely affected. And the jurisdiction of Russia is also beginning to apply in other countries. So the risks are gigantic, and we will either carry them all together or we will not start. Well, it seems obvious to me that if you make such a decision, you want to know the legal basis, and you want to know that it is solid, as long as I do not move. And then there are those three conditions. We have put them in text by specialized lawyers. You will either accept that text or I will do everything I can, politically and legally, European and national, to stop this decision. So we want to work with peace of mind, but on acceptable conditions. I don't think a euro of that money should go back to Russia. It has always been the intention, if there is a peace agreement, that Russia should give up the money for the reconstruction of Ukraine. But if we lay down international law next to us, then we could sometimes help Putin. Because he can do counter-confiscations for the same amount, and then he just has his money back. And we have no other problem. Yes, that's a totally different subject. It's about the budget. It must be put in order in the long term. I think it should happen now. We are chosen for this. These are difficult decisions. If you can't make difficult decisions, then you are not able to govern. A government is a goal to serve the population, not the other way around. There are not 1,000 ways to make a big recovery. Look at the past of the 80s and 90s. It's always the same big funds that come up to be able to quickly improve your salary. If parties manifestly refuse to use those big funds, then we won't get there. That's been proven this week during the negotiations. I've tried to convince them that if we take away those measures, they have an alternative to get there. It's been proven that that's not the case at all. So, yes, we're at a very difficult point. I can't deny it. Well, that will have to show in the days to come. For me, the deadline is the deadline of a budget that holds up. And I would have preferred to have voted this year in the Parliament, of course, so there's not much time left. But if you're insolent and remain insolent, we'll have to face the consequences sooner or later. The budget has to be renewed. Again, I'm in favor of that. I'm not in favor of the 16th to accept people outside the 16th and let the country slide into the abyss. Again, this is irrational. This is irrational. If our debts and shortfalls continue to increase, our pensions will increase so much that within a year, 2 years, our population will have to ask for even more painful measures just to be able to pay the money to the banks. So, this is completely irrational, irresponsible not to solve it now. I've never spoken out in the press about what needs to be in the toolbox. But there are not 1,000 ways to renew a budget.
Are you happy with the guarantees that have been offered so far regarding inflation?
Well, we're still looking for the legal basis on which this decision can be taken. We haven't seen it yet. That seems to me the beginning of everything, the legal basis. If there is a legal basis, we want to go forward in this debate, but we have three conditions that aren't yet being met. We want mutualization of the risk, because the risk is very, very big. We could be faced with claims for tens of billions of euros, maybe hundreds of billions of euros. So if these claims come, we have to be responsible together. The second condition we want is that there has to be joint guarantees. if the cash has to be put on the table, then it has to happen immediately. Every member state will have to chip in if this goes wrong. And the third condition is, of course, that if we want to go forward, we have to go forward together. We're not the only country with immobilized Russian assets. We're the only country who offers these assets to Ukraine. But there are other countries in Europe, also in the G7, who have important amounts of immobilized Russian assets. Well, if we want to give them to Ukraine, we have to do it all together. If not, Russian retaliation might only hit Belgium. That's not very reasonable. We're a small country and retaliation can be very hard. They might confiscate all kinds of monies of Western banks in Russia, confiscate European-owned companies in Russia. Look what happened to Google. This could happen to every company of European origin in Russia. So if we want to go forward on this, the risks are high and we have to do it all together.
Is it enough time for these three conditions in how the event? Do you think it's enough time today to expect this?
But we're looking forward to having the discussion. We have these are very complicated issues, and as I've said, I haven't even seen the legal basis yet. This seems to me the beginning of every discussion. If you want to take a decision that has never been taken before in history, you need to show me the legal basis. What are you basing yourself on to take this decision? Because if you know the legal basis, then you can estimate the risks. So I would like to see the legal basis. I would like to see how they react to the conditions we have put on the table, who are quite reasonable. I'm not asking for anything that is unreasonable.
Are you confident you will see this today?
I would be surprised if we get it all done today, but miracles have happened before. Sorry.
It would be a great help if the Norwegians helped take the risk of the reparations loan. Do you agree that it would be a big help if the Norwegians helped with their big oil fund to take the risk, to take off the risk from very pressed?
I'm not specifically looking at Norway. Every country in the European Union and even in the coalition of the willing, if they want to help Ukraine by seizing Russian immobilized assets, that's a measure that has never been taken in history before, not even during the Second World War. Immobilized assets have always been immune, they've never been touched. If we want to do it, then we have to carry the risks all together. They have to be mutualized, they have to be guaranteed, and everybody who holds immobilized assets has to move together. These are reasonable conditions.
As Norwegian economists point at, Norway have a special situation because they have the oil fund, so they would not risk their credit liability if they just made a backstop. And do you agree? It would be a great help.
Sorry, I'm not going to comment on what Norway has to do. Norway is not an EU member, this is the EU Council, so today I'm going to focus on what the EU needs to do. But I think there's a broader debate in the coalition of the willing. If the coalition of the will is not willing to be the coalition of the bill for the war of Ukraine, it has no sense to carry on.